Hello, everyone. I hope everyone is enjoying and having a good Saturday. We really appreciate you all being here on time and waiting for the session. And I'm happy to be back. I was missing for a few weeks this time. I had little travel, but yeah, I'm really excited to be again with you and talk about agentic AI. And I'm obviously joined with lots of volunteers, so we will talk about that. And while we wait for the volunteers to join in, let's go ahead with a quick icebreaker question. Like, what is your highlight for the last week? And I'll add volunteers now so that they can also answer. But please answer the question in the chat that what is highlight of your last week, what you did. Let me add Prasad to the chat. Prasad, how are you?
I'm good, mate. How are you doing? Good to see you
All
back.
okay, man. Lot of travel, but good, good. How what was the highlight of your last week? What you did?
Last week was a bit busy wrapping up a lot of stuff. That was the one week that I did not have travel. So I was here. There were a lot of what do you call pending tasks that were there. So I finished them all. Yeah, and in general, my movie routine. So I watched some movies. I watched Hello Bachcho. It's one of the new
Oh,
series
nice.
on Netflix, which is on the physics wala. So that was really good. Yeah, and I have a movie later today to go. So that's
That's
my
good. That
Saturday.
is good. Movie marathon. Yeah, I had those days, but nowadays I cannot sit for 3 hours. That's the problem. But yeah, let's see. Okay, I like Parna. Hey, Parna, how you doing? How was your last week?
Hey everyone, I missed y'all last week, so good to see y'all back on the sixth one. So my last week was good because I took a break after a long time.
You
And
need
now
it.
after that break I don't feel like getting back to work. And just like Prasad said, I caught up on a few movies. So yeah, so it was a
Yeah,
nice relaxing break. That's all
that's
I
good.
did.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. And I'm waiting. I traveled to a place. Somebody said that can we buy a Bisa T-shirt? We are talking about that also. So let me add Aanchal to the stage. Hey Aanchal, how are you doing? How was your last week?
Good, Ashish. I was also traveling last week. And like Parna said, right, I'm really not looking forward to being back to work now.
That's the challenge. The problem which I face, like when I go on holidays and I come back, the first thing I have to figure out is what was the password for my laptop. So
Uh,
that's the challenge. But yeah, good to see you all. Let me add Nisha. Hi Nisha.
Hi everyone. My last week was good, and I'm super happy because I passed my generative AI professional certificate, so which was
That's
long
good, man.
overdue. So I'm
That's
happy,
good. That's good.
relaxed now.
Great. Now people know whom to reach out if they need support on generative AI certification, right?
And that's why
Sure.
we see Nisha like answering actually AI to everyone on the chat.
Now you know why I was so fast answering all the questions.
Were you
That's
this
good
fast
one.
in the exam?
Yes, actually, I was able to find good time to review all the questions.
Yeah, it's a
So
very lengthy exam, hence I asked. Were
yes,
you
Hmm.
that
absolutely, it was
Great.
headache. My head was
Thank
hurting.
you. Let me add Kavya. Kavya, you had exciting week, I guess. You were in GTZ, right?
Yeah, I was in GTC previous week. Last week was all about
Okay.
catching up. And last week I received my Culture Champion Award, which is also exciting. So, two
Wow.
good things.
That's good. A lot of
Everybody
celebration
raising the
going on.
bar. Great.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. All right, let me add Anmol now. Hey,
Hi
Anmol,
everyone. So last
how
week
was
I
your
was just chilling, like not much. I was just spending some time with new feature like Claude release with the Claude Cowork, and also I was just trying it out.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That's nice, good one. And now the most shining person in the house because of the T-shirt, Jeff. How was your last week?
It was good. On the personal side, my kids live in New York and Boston, and they both came to visit, so it was great to catch up with them.
Great. And the Jeff has this really custom-made T-shirt for Become a Solutions Architect. So thank you for having it. And we are figuring out we before the session started, we were figuring out how we can create a T-shirt which everybody can order. So we will see what can be done on that. But yeah, keep your questions coming. We'll answer as many questions in the chat and let's get started with the technical track. Okay, I have forgot to explain where I was. So let me give you a little bit more idea that what I did last week. So for me, last week was all about travel. I had a lot of travel to do. I've been into Seattle and Vancouver, but yeah, Seattle been multiple time. Vancouver was first time. It was a short trip, but it is still good. The good part is weather, because unless there is a good weather, you cannot enjoy any place. At least Seattle and Vancouver both are known for notorious weather, but this time it was good. So I did some seaplane ride and I went into this science world. So that was a good exploration. All right, let's continue. So we are on batch 09. I'll remove others from this list so that they can keep on answering questions, and then they can give support to all of you. And we will add them on the stage as we need it or when we need it. So let's remove everyone as of now. So this is batch number 6, sorry, batch number 9, and we have started on 21st February. Today is 20th March, which is the last day, last week for us, but it doesn't mean that your learning journey has to be stopped. We'll talk about more resources which we can give to you. We will be talking about lots of things, and obviously you have learning partners like WizLab who provided you the details. So just a quick summary, like what we discussed so far, we came a long way. We started from very basic foundation of AI agent, and if you look at what we have covered, we covered lots of interesting stuff all together, not only on technical track, but also on the behavioral side. And this time we had hands-on workshop, which was really, really useful for lots of people. That's why I'm assuming. And we got a lot of good feedback about it. So that's really good we have achieved so far. So we are on week number 6. We'll talk about supercharging development with Kiro. We'll talk about building your AI enhanced practices, and we'll do a workshop on Kiro Express. This time, the workshop doesn't require you to have an AWS account. It can be done in a local environment. So that's why we have not sent you a registration link for this workshop, but we'll talk about how you can utilize this workshop to get started. Right. Yeah, workshop was really helpful. Thanks for that feedback, Siddesh. Yeah, that we thought so. Hopefully, this will continue into the next sessions also. Now, there are questions on the knowledge checks. So knowledge checks would be available till 30th of the April. So you have 1 month additional after the session to complete the knowledge checks. And if you pass the knowledge checks, you would be able to claim the badges. We'll talk more about it at the end, that how to claim your badge once you complete the knowledge check. So we will talk about that. Now let's start with the role play, where we will try to understand how this Kiro thing is helping us, how we can supercharge our development with Kiro. So let me add Perna to stage. She will be acting a curious customer, and obviously she has lots of questions. So let me get ready to answer some of the questions. Welcome, Perna. Let me know how I can help you about Kiro.
Hey, hi, Ashish. Thank you for joining me here. I'm very curious to know about AI-driven software development. It's a buzzword everywhere, and I think we are a little, outdated in our ways of doing things in our org. So maybe you can, guide us to
Sure,
get
I'll
that.
try my best. Again, it's a very moving target in a way, because Kiro is developing so fast that I do not know everything, but I'll try my best to explain you these things. So let's go ahead and talk
Sure.
about that. So I put it like this. This is not marketing, but it is reality. Like if you can think of it, you can build it. That's how the Kiro operates. So you think what you need, you give some ideas, Kiro enhances those ideas, and then you can start building those solutions if you need it. It could be simple apps, it could be complicated apps, it could be upgrade on existing ones, or it could be just starting everything from scratch. So we'll talk about all those things as we move forward. Right now, you may have a confusion like how this Kiro fits in, or where are all these components fit in, because we talked about lots of things. We talked about MCPs, we talked about Bedrock, we talked about Agent Core. So I want to give you a high level picture first, that where Kiro and all the software fits in, and then we can go into the details of Kiro. Okay, if I say Amazon Kiro, just assume it is Kiro. We do not
Hmm.
use a word Amazon Kiro. It is just considered Kiro because it's a quite independent product. Even if you are not using any of the AWS services or don't plan to, you can still utilize Kiro. It works completely independently. So that's why we just call it Kiro, not Amazon Kiro, just Kiro. Okay.
Got it.
Good. So probably you know that how we get started. So for getting started with AWS, or sorry, AI, what you need, that you need infrastructure. Obviously, you need the place where your code would run, whatever creation you have created would deploy and run. So that's why we would be needing infrastructure. And when we talk about infrastructure, one thing you can follow is like you can have your own compute, like AI compute, which I mentioned on the right side, where we have chips like AWS Trainium, Inferentia, GPUs, which can help you into getting started or building your own stack. But in case you need to have like little more managed approach, that time you can go for Amazon SageMaker AI, which gives you all the resources like model building, resources for training. You can run MLOps pipelines using that. You can perform fine tuning of existing model, or you can perform deployment and also ensure governance. So that is where the infrastructure layer is, right? And once your infrastructure is sorted out, you could then think of, okay, now I have to start with my AI agent development. What software and services are available is there for me. So let's talk about those concepts, that what we would be needing in this space. So Bedrock obviously plays a foundational role here. In Bedrock, we already discussed about the different models availability, what capabilities it has. We also discussed in previous sessions about agent core and knowledge bases. So Bedrock gives you a solid foundation to get started, but it is not the only way, because obviously everyone has different use cases, and that's why we want to give you additional context, in the sense that, hey, I could go ahead and have integration with Nova Act for SDKs or agent, or I can have open system software like Strands agent. I don't want to get into proprietary things, so I could literally utilize OSS or open system software, which are very flexible like Strands agent, so we can integrate with that. And once you have this sorted, you could get that started with your applications. Like you could use Kiro, you could use Amazon Q, AWS Transform, Connect, and there are a lot of options available into marketplace. Now I put them into a stack. That doesn't mean that to use Kiro you need to have SDKs or Bedrock or infrastructure. No, these application can be used independently. So I can just get started with Amazon Q, or I may just use Transform, or I may just use Kiro. So it purely depends on how you want to utilize. But these are the various options which are available for you to get started. Does it make sense?
Got it. Yeah, makes sense. So, like Ashish, I said, we are a little behind in this AI ML trend. So, we are still using EC2s to deploy our application. So, I was wondering, I didn't see EC2 anywhere over here. So, can I still use an EC2 to deploy my AI application? So, some of the powerful ones that AWS has to offer, can I do that?
Absolutely, you can do that. But if it comes to optimization, then it would be preferring that we go ahead with these AI compute options we offer. So yes, in a way, it is EC2 which has compute power. But when you are doing this ML training or inferences which are running, probably having a GPU-based instances or instances which are optimized for running AI workload will be more suitable. They will give you best price performance ratio. So yes, EC2 can be leveraged, but you have better options where you can get better performance, lower cost, more stability, more functionality. So that's why EC2s are there, but we recommend that you go ahead with the compute option we have provided here. That's what is the
Got
idea,
it. Makes sense. Makes sense.
right?
So
And
so the stack that you've shown me is great, but I would just like to understand what has the evolution been. Like we had those typical AI coding assistants which used to help
mhm.
us, and some of our developers in our organization who are early adopters, they have themselves used help of AI, but we still haven't caught on. So I would like to know, how far behind are we, or what stage has these AI coding assistants reached? Can you help me with that?
Yeah, why not? And don't feel like you are far behind. Like every customer's journey is different, right? So somebody
Hmm.
may still be using COBOL. That doesn't mean they're far behind, right? That technology serve their purpose. So probably that's why they are using it. So it's not far behind. Maybe we can talk about like how this evolution happened, and then we can
Okay.
move started. And one more thing which I want to mention here, that with this AI stack, we also give you integration with MCP. We talked already about it. A to A
Hmm.
options are there for protocol, and obviously, all of these can integrate with your data. It could be in S3, or it can be databases or graph databases, or in our on-prem environment, we could have integration on that. So how AI is changing software, let me talk about that. So in 2023 around, we found a lot of autocomplete, like a glorified IntelliSense built into the IDE. IDE stand for Integrated Development Environment, interface where I go and write my code like Visual Studio, or it could be anything for Python or anything Eclipse for Java, something like that. So those IDEs have started giving a feature of autocomplete. So that helped developers in writing the code faster. Like so, AI was providing general help to you, and autocomplete allowed you to complete those sentences or those syntax much faster. Obviously, that evolved as the technology evolved. So what we have now, that is our 2024, we came up with the idea of assistant. Means it's the general thing. I'm not talking about AWS specific here. So generally, hey, I want to get a change done into this function. I want to validate this particular log file which I have. I want to troubleshoot that error. So it became more interactive where we could talk to this AI as assistant and they would be able to help us out. And that has started the way for giving things like, okay, so we have now agent who can help us in completing the end-to-end task, not just focused on one single task, but whole life cycle of SDLC or a big project's maintenance can be automated through the use of agent. So we started with the basic autocomplete, then we started using AI as assistant, and now we are going into the world where full-fledged AI development is happening and agents are helping in shaping how we actually program the thing. Right?
Great, great. I get the picture now where we've reached, where we were, and where we've reached. So, can you give me like an overview of what are the tangible benefits that I can get by following this AI-driven software development lifecycle?
Makes sense. Yeah. Obviously, it is always important to see that, hey, why we are using this. The why is
Why?
always,
Yeah.
always important, right? So let's
Yeah.
talk
Not
about
because everybody's following it. I would really like to know what are the
exactly.
benefits.
So,
Yeah.
so let me try to zoom in a little bit because there was some question. So the promise of agentic development is like what? Let's talk about that. So idea is that we want to give autonomy to our developers, right? So agent can take decision on their own and complete the increasingly challenging tasks. So we want our developer to focus on the more business side of thing rather than figuring out the syntax or troubleshooting and all. So we want to use agents so that we can get more autonomy for it, and that helps us in performing through collaboration. So agentic development can then help developer and agent, they work together, they're not competing against each other. Like a lot of time I hear that, okay, because of agentic development no developers are needed. That's not true. We do need to have agents also to facilitate the heavy lifting which is needed, plus also have an option to that developer can also come up with their own creative ways of things. So we need autonomy, we need true collaboration, and we also need what, we also need to have a higher quality of the code. We don't want AI to generate junk of code and then my developer is spending time to just figure out, hey, what is right, what is wrong, what should be optimized. We don't want like a junk of code generated. We want to have a higher quality also created by it. So that's how this is what agentic development we are looking forward to. But yeah, obviously it is what we want, but it may not be that where we are right now. But this is what the promise of agentic development is, that once you start following it, you would have autonomy, you would have true collaboration between an agent and a human, and you would have higher quality code coming up, which will be optimized for performance. It would not have security vulnerability, and it would start working as expected.
Nice. So, while I understand all these 3 points are really great benefits for software engineers and developers as such, but how does it benefit our business or how does it bring business value? Could you highlight about that too?
Yeah, so that is important because see, technology is good if it is
Yeah,
there, but if it is not solving a business problem, it is of no use,
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
So obviously, businesses are also getting benefit. Let's talk in terms of faster time to market, right? You may have an idea. Let's say you wanted to build something called MVP, like starting point for a product. That may still take a lot of time, but once you start using this kind of agentic development, you could start creating your POCs much faster. Your MVP products can be really created faster, so businesses can iterate faster, find out what is working and move forward. If it is not, let's try another idea. So faster time to market for businesses. And also it helps in productivity gains. So agent will help your developer in performing all the things like cost validation, maybe security vulnerability assessment, maybe performance fine tuning. So that will obviously drill down the cost, and it will also cut down the time they may have spent on the coding before. So for businesses, it is faster time to market and productivity gain. These are the two prominent things which may happen.
Great, great. So, while we are, there's a huge ecosystem of this AI aided assistants and IDs. So, when we are selecting and choosing them, are there any sort of challenges that I should be aware of beforehand, what I might encounter?
Yeah, means see, we want technology to solve all our problem, but again,
Hmm.
having technology doesn't mean that everything is solved automatically. So we may still have some challenges to face, right? So when you're talking about, let's say, AI-driven development, what challenges can be there? So let's say you have started coding through your AI assistant and you started writing a code. Now it could be good for one person, but what if you have to scale it to 200 developer team? Or there are 500 people working in different time zone on different projects or different features of the product, then how you will scale that AI development? So that becomes a bottleneck because we do not have a centralized way to get all the knowledge stored into AI and then utilize it. So that is one problem which are being faced by the customers right now. Also, there is limited control on that. What I mean by this, that let's say you have asked your program that, or your AI assistant, that hey, write me a code for checkers, write me a code for tic-tac-toe. That fine, it will write a code and give it to you, but you are not seeing that what decision point it has gone through, what type of validation it has performed. So we see AI as a black box where we send an input, it generates the output, and then we start figuring out whether it is output is aligned to my requirement or not. Do I need to fix it? Do I need to modify it? Do I need to enhance it? So we do not have a lot of control on how those outputs are generated for me. And obviously, when we do not have control, then code quality cannot be guaranteed, because GI may have generated based on decision point A, B, and C, whereas for your business, those points were not relevant. You wanted it to decide based on X, Y, and Z. So that may always happen when you are using this AI-based tool. So these are some challenges which we want to address through Amazon, through Kiro. We'll talk more on that. But yeah, these are the common challenges which any AI tool would face, like scaling that, and then limited control on what is being generated, and ensuring that quality of the code is proper. Does it make sense?
Got it. Yeah, makes sense. So I had a question. So you mentioned over here that in using our existing AI tools that we have currently, we can have limited control, or we can do some really small tasks really well to create POCs, but they may not really be great at creating end-to-end enterprise AI applications. So I was just wondering, I can do all of this using vibe coding, right? Why do I need like a very sophisticated autonomous agentic AI IDE to do software planning and development? If vibe coding can help with that, why do I need such a
Yeah,
complex?
it can help. How much, that is questionable. I'm not saying vibe coding is bad, or I would say that vibe coding is the word which has taken the whole year, like the most prominent word of the year. If I say, it would be vibe coding. Everyone is talking about it. So it is good. It has given a lot of people ways to start developing or start creating solution which they never thought about. But vibe coding has its own limitation, and where it fits in is different. So vibe coding concept, for people who are not aware, is that you code first and think later and adjust as you go. So like some of us may want to plan ahead and then start with the travel. Let's say if I am proper planner, when I have to travel I have to plan, whereas some people may be, hey, let's pick up a bag, we'll move on, and we'll figure out on the way what needs to be done. So vibe coding is similar to that. What happens in vibe coding, that you developer writes a prompt, AI generates a code. Now that code may be optimized, may not be optimized. Developer again gives a prompt, again generation happens. So we keep on prompting, we keep on optimizing, and at the end we get the required thing, right? This is what happens into a vibe coding format. But idea here is that let's code first, we'll think it later, and then we will keep on adjusting as we go. This is what a vibe coding observability is.
Okay, so this looks like more of a trial and error kind of mechanism. So, should I really use vibe coding, you think? Or looks like I should not be considering that at all. So, how do I
uh,
decide when should I vibe code, when should I not?
That's a great question. So let me give an analogy so that I can explain you in a different way that how we can leverage vibe coding if required. Like, so we all have some jobs in our house to do. Like last week, I had to get my garage painted, and for that, I would need a handyman who could come and fix those garage thing, like paint garage. Then I just pay for that and done. But if I'm building a house, that is a different story. So vibe coding is like, which works fast. It relies on experience and intuition, but it may not be doing a lot of forward thinking for it. Like, okay, this paint is not mold proof. Should I use a mold proof paint into a garage door or not? Or maybe should I use some wall filling first and then do the painting? So vibe coding is like, hey, I would improvise and avoid and adopt thing as I keep on going on that. So it's like a handyman, which is good for quick fixes, very flexible. It can ask him to do different type of work, and great for small problems also. But the risk is they are not always scalable. I would not trust a handyman to build a house for me completely. Or it may fix something, but it may not take it. Like I had experience, like I asked the handyman to drill something into wall. He didn't monitor properly, and there was an electric line behind which got drilled because of that. So those type of things can happen. But they have their own use cases. They have their own ways of doing things, and that may fit in some cases, but it may not fit into a huge enterprise case environment type of thing. Does it make
Got
sense?
it. Yeah, it definitely. So, can you give me some examples when I should go for vibe or not to vibe? Yeah.
Yeah, to vibe or not to vibe, right? To be or not to be kind of a thing. So let's say you're looking for quick UI additions, like you have already existing application. Hey, I want to add a confirm button. I want to do a simple feature enhancement. This is a bug. This is the error. I want to fix it. I want to refactor my code structure into a single file. So those time vibe code is really, really good for. But if you are doing some complex multi-file feature and architectural changes, which can fold or which can unfold multiple files or which can touch multiple files, or feature where you require need to have proper requirement and then you go ahead with design document, that time your vibe coding may not work best in that case. Or in the case, like, think of if your system is going to affect multiple system boundaries, then vibe coding may not be the best thing for it. Like, I give you another example. So in my garage I have to get my electricity sorted, and in UK the electricity systems are not like, hey, you put a plug and then you get started. I have to go through council to get a permission to block those roads, and then go for a permission from the health, from the water department and all. So obviously a handyman is not able to go ahead and get these things done for me. What I would need an agency who knows what type of permissions are required, and then that can help me out in that case. So vibe code is good, but it may not be able to solve all the problems you are looking for if it is an enterprise use case or if it is having a complex structure to handle in that case.
I
So
get it. Yeah. So now looking at the bigger picture, like I understand vibe coding, you can do quick fixes, like, some small implementation and changes. And now looking at the bigger picture, how is AI driven software development different from the traditional software development that we were doing? So we've been using that till now. So is it very different? How does Kiro come into the picture? So I just want to know how they're different from each other. Where do the different components fall in?
yeah. So if you look about vibe coding, we do not talk about anything requirement or design. We just say, okay, give a prompt, let's get started. But if I look at traditional SDLCs work in this format. So we plan, we first get a requirement, then we do a design documentation, then implementation happens, then proper testing and QA phases are there, deployment happens, and then maintenance happens on that, right? And you may follow waterfall model or you may follow agile or maybe any other methodology, but the concept is same, that you start with your requirement documented, cemented, and then you move forward from that. So that is not going to change. When we talk about Kiro driven development, or what we refer to something called spec driven development, we have a new approach to follow. So we'll talk about that. So Kiro introduces a new approach for building software with AI agent, but we still follow those standards of having requirement finalized, having design finalized, and then start building, rather than just jumping and say, hey, I want to build something. That is not going to work. So mostly we should be able to sort these things first, and then we should go ahead and start building our applications.
Right. If you want a long-term maintainable software, we should go
Exactly.
right from the beginning. Makes sense. Yeah.
Exactly. That's the key. So yeah, again, think of like, what is your long-term vision? Are you looking for just a quick bug fix, or you are looking to build the next Amazon.com? Depending on that, you would use what resources are useful for you and what you should do. So if I give you a little bit more idea on that, how we should get started with this new approach, here it says that let's start with something called spec. Spec is specification. So we get a specification and we'll see how it works out and how it looks into UI concept. But specification is basically what is your starting point, and that specification get recorded into a file which is called your requirement.md file. So this requirement.md file is generated, all your specification gets into it, and you don't have to manually create the specification. You give a prompt to a Kiro assistant, and Kiro would be able to generate those requirements for MD. Now, you do not, okay, go ahead and say, okay, let's consider a situation. Let's say you have to build a software. So do not go into a room and say, hey, these are the 4 bullet point my software should solve, and then I walk out, and then developer in 6 months will deliver the solution. No, you have to document your requirement, you have to design your document, you have to create proper designs on that. So same thing happens here. If you are happy with the requirement generated, go ahead. If not, make those changes, run it through those again, then design will be created. With the design, if you are happy, then you move forward, then you go ahead with the implementation phase. This is how your Kiro based approach would look like. You start with specification, you create requirement, you then design, and then you start building your task based on the design you have created. And obviously, there is feedback mechanism like, okay, this specific task has to be changed, or this requirement is need to be verified or validated or maybe changed. That we can always integrate in the system. Shouldn't be a problem at all.
Okay. So what exactly do you mean by specification? Is it like guidelines, instructions, which are there in these? I see that these are markdown files. It's got
Yep.
.md. So are
Mhm.
these like instructions or guidelines? Or what sort of things are there in the specs? Can you give me a
It
little
depends
overview?
on what you are doing. So let's say I'm fixing a bug in existing system. So my requirement that time would be different, right? It would be
Hmm.
based on what the code base already exists, what errors are there, what standards are in place. If I'm building something new, my requirement.md may look differently. But idea of spec-driven development is that we want to follow traditional HDLC practice to ship the product. So vibe coding ship the prototype that is good for prototyping purposes. But when you're looking for a whole system to be developed, probably you will go with these failures. So vibe coding is not being eliminated here, it is still there, but idea is that we are using it in a more structured way. So when we talk about spec driven development, it is not just producing the code, but it is also about, okay, testing and QA needs to be done. Okay, I want to now deploy this code into AWS or any other provider, and then I may have to start with the maintenance on top of it also. So that is how this whole cycle fits into the spec driven development, not just the code generation part, which vibe coding mostly focuses on. Does it make sense?
Yes, makes sense. So probably you could give me some examples or illustrations to give me an idea. How does this the decision making part happen in this whole
Good.
cycle?
Yep. So let's talk about what currently happens. So let's say you have a prompt, right? Okay, I want to build an application. I want to build a fitness application. I give this prompt to my AI agent or AI software, whatever it is. So for that, it has to go through different decisions, right? It has to figure out would it be a 3 tier app? Would it be a web application? Would it be a mobile application? Will I be using Java for front end? Will I use Node.js? What would be my database type? Where it would be hosted? Would I need serverless? Would I go with the server based approach? So what you see here, that a lot of decisions are happening, and it may be possible that the AI system is not able to decide in the same manner you want it to decide, because it has its own intuition, its own knowledge, and its own way of thinking. So, what comes as the output could be ambiguous. And you spend a lot of time in correcting those things which it has generated, or fixing the error which has happened because of that. So, that is a problem with the current approach. What spec driven approach says that, okay, let me not directly jump into decision making. Let me go ahead with a precise specification of what I actually need, what my requirements are. And once I have those requirements and I've given the requirement and design, like, okay, I want to use Java. I want to use NoSQL databases. I want to deploy it into AWS. I want to deploy it as a serverless function. So all these will help AI in deciding properly, and that's why your output would become really, really precise. So you may still start with the ambiguous prompt. You don't need to figure out everything on your own, but before you start writing your code, you would go ahead and take those specification, get it precise, verify it, update it, and then you can keep moving forward to get the precise output you're looking for. So basically, whatever the black box you were looking for, where decision was being made, now you have some control on how those decisions are being made and in what context that decision are being made. That is where this spec driven development really, really helps you. Does it make sense?
Got it. It's so we are basically providing it more context and focused requirements rather than giving it
Exactly.
just like, hey, build a Sudoku game. We can probably give it more context, what kind of grid
Yeah.
we want,
So
etc.
you
Right?
could still start with saying to AI that, hey, build me a Sudoku game. Then it will figure
Hmm.
out, okay, do you need a Sudoku of 9 by 9, 6 by 6, 12 by 12, right?
It will ask
And what
clarify.
is the difficulty level you are looking for? Those type of stuff. Or maybe do you need to have it auto complete feature? Right? So it will come up with those ideas. You fill up those ideas, you select some of them and say, hey, I need this, I do not need this, update it, and then the development actually happens. So rather than just starting code, we take a step back, we properly think what we need, and then once we have finalized what we need, we can then start it. It doesn't mean that I cannot change my requirement again. It may happen, right? In product
Hmm.
requirement changes, in software development requirement changes. So we can still go ahead with that. But idea is that we do not directly jump to code.
Makes sense. So in the previous process also we could have reached our goal, but it would have taken longer because I think there would have
Exactly.
been a lot of back and forth interaction with the agent with clarifying. Here we've given it precise requirements, so it knows the path.
Yep.
Get
Yep.
it.
That makes
Yeah,
sense.
makes sense.
Now let me give you an analogy so that you can get it a concept better. So let's say
Yeah.
we talked about handyman. Handyman walks in and says, "Hey, yes, I can fix it," and he will be able to fix it. And if it happens like, okay, he tried one way and he tried to open something, and let's say into a plumbing, it didn't open. Then it says, okay, let me start another approach. Let me cut it down and then fix it again. So idea here is that It may be good for small problem. It works fast, relies on experience and intuition. It may able to provide you quick fixes, but it is mostly on the intuition based learning we have. But when we talk about spec driven development for bigger project, think of like a team of architects working together. So they will be able to perform a predictable outcome for you. So strength of this particular team is like, okay, they have worked on these, they have figured out all these ways how these all parts fit in, where the beam would be, where the plumbing will go, where the electricity will flow. That all has been figured out. So this is very scalable system. No surprises later. Like sometime it happens that a handyman asked me to buy something, and later we were able to figure out that this may not fit into the situation which we have. So I'm not saying handymans are bad or vibe coding is bad, but idea is what you want it to solve, that becomes most important. So obviously, when you are going with spec-driven development, you will be having a little slower start because you have to figure out those requirements. And requirement upfront thinking requires upfront thinking. You have to figure out a lot of things, and then you get started. But yeah, this is what analogy I would say. You hire a team of architect for a bigger task. For smaller tasks, probably vibe coding can really work well for
Great. Yeah, it really gives me a good picture of what probably Kiro would help me achieve.
you. Makes sense. So continuing on that, so spec driven follows a well defined path. So if I go into little more detail on that, so we architect create detailed blueprints, structural, electrical, plumbing, and plans are finalized, approvals are done before breaking the ground, and that's how we are able to get the things done. Same applies to coding. You go from requirement to design and then implementation phase. There are clear interfaces, contract and architecture defined, predictable and scalable system comes out of. So everything fits together, no surprises at the last. That is what spec-driven development is all talking about. Does it make
Got
sense?
it.
And
Yeah,
Kiro fits into this whole situation really well.
makes sense.
Good. So let's talk about the topic now, which is Hero. But I wanted to give you extension or understanding like where we need it. The tool is good if we understand its purpose and if we are able to leverage it properly. Otherwise, it is of no use. So Hero is a really nice tool, a really recent product from AWS, and it is able to solve a lots of problem. I use it on regular basis or lots of other stuff also apart from programming. So that is a really helpful tool for me also, and for everyone, I guess it will be. So Kiro is what we call it is an agentic AI development environment from prototype to production. So you could go ahead and use it for prototyping, and later when you decide that hey, it has to be moved into a production environment, that time also I can leverage Kiro. Should not be a problem, right?
Right. So how can I get started? Like, how do I install it? Where do I download it from? Can you give me an overview?
Yeah, very simple. So very simple is like go to kiro.dev and it is free to download. You could go ahead and download it. It is available for Windows or Mac OS and download for Linux also. There is a Kiro CLI also available. So you could just go ahead and download and get started for faster. Like if it is a free account you are using, you still get 50 credits to use. And if you use Builder ID, then probably there are more 500 credits or something comes out of it. So it is easy to get started. And once you download and install it, and installation is pretty simple and straightforward. It's not like very complicated thing. Once you have it, you would see a application or IDE in your environment which you can get started with. Let me bring it to to the screen. This is how it looks like. So if you look here, this is I am onto Kiro, and through this I'm able to perform lots and lots of things. We'll talk about some of these features, but basically it is a fork of VS Code. So it looks interface looks
Yeah,
like
looks
VS
very
Code. I'm
similar.
using a light theme here, yeah. And then here are the things which we talk about Kiro, and we have them Kiro power. So this is where the all the benefits come when we are talking about all these things, right? So this is
So
how we
Ashish,
get
before
started.
you proceed, I have one question. So
Mhm,
Kiro obviously uses the ML models, right,
mhm.
for the agent to work internally. Now, when I download Kiro and install it, does it actually download and install even a model on my local computer?
No, it's not. It doesn't work in that way because if we do that, that would be too much for a local computer to handle.
Yeah, I
Because
was
then it will
wondering.
not give you the flexibility we are looking for. So what Kiro is giving you, Kiro is downloading the interface or IDE for you, but at the back end, it is making calls to the Amazon Bedrock services. And in those Bedrock services, these are the model which are optimized to run with Kiro. So Kiro can use any of these model depending on your use case. So if I have to do a very complicated calculations, probably I will go with Cloud Opus. But if I have very simple things to do, maybe I could go with Minimax, maybe I could go with the Sonnet, or any other thing. So that is how I should be able to leverage these different models. So when I go ahead and launch Kiro, let me show this thing to you. Give me a minute, I'll bring it up, and then we can get started from there. Where is my Kiro software? Yeah, here. So see this one here. Here it says auto. So this auto is selecting the model automatically for me. And if I want to change it, obviously I could go ahead and use different model. Depending on the model you use, your credit would be calculated differently. So same task, if I do with auto model, maybe I will be charged 1 credit. Credit is a unit, which is a work done by AI. Let's say I give it a simple prompt, maybe it will use 1 credit to fulfill that prompt. So based on that, I would be able to select any of these models, some of the cheaper, as you could see, like Minimax, some of them may be higher cost depending on your requirement.
I
You
think
could
the slide is not seen. Did you want to show the slide?
slide is not visible. You
Yeah,
can see the Kiro
we are
screen or
looking
not?
at your ID. We are looking at Kiro
Yeah.
right now.
So here,
Yeah.
so if you see 1.3, 1.4, 0.25, 0.15, these are the different models which you can leverage
Yeah.
in Kiro.
So
And
this
that
is
will
what I
end
wanted
it
to
for you.
ask you, Ashish. I can see those. I could not really make out what that meant because I understand bedrock pricing, but how does the
Mhm.
Kiro pricing work? You spoke something about credit. So is it like I have to subscribe to Kiro and I get n number of credits and I can only use up to those credits? How does that work?
So Kiro's pricing is made up of two things here. One is subscription, so which you pay like a fixed fees for subscription, what you have, right? And in that subscription, you get some credits to you. And on top of it, there is a usage-based pricing also. So you got a subscription. In that, let's say you got 50 credits. If you go beyond it, then you pay on the per credit basis what we have utilized on that. So subscription plus usage, these are the two combined prices which happens for Kiro.
Okay. So
Right?
what are those things which I'm seeing like, X 1.3? What does that actually
So
mean?
consider like let's say you ask a question to Kiro, like say I want to write a code for a tic-tac-toe game, right? Let's say that prompt consumed 1 credit. So it was Kiro Auto, it consumed 1 credit. If you ask the same task to be done by Cloud Opus, it would have consumed 2.2 credits on that. If the same task
Okay.
was done by Minimax, it would consume 0.15 credit on that. But it may not generate the best output you are looking for. So credits are basically a way to calculate like what is the baseline we are utilizing, what is the baseline cost associated on that. So basically one task you can think of it is using credits on that, and that credit is basically the work done by AI, and higher model would charge you more, cheaper model would charge you less. Very simple.
Got it. So the multiplication factor is more because it's
Will be
consuming more
there,
tokens, I believe.
whatever you
So
consume.
because it's
So
a more
subscription plus
powerful
usage,
model.
both things are there. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Makes sense. Great.
Okay.
So maybe you could give me a demonstration of some of the UI and features of Kiro.
Yep, why not? Let's get started with that. So very simple interface, not a very complicated one. So if I'm looking at this right now, this is like a panes you are looking into. This is my traditional directory structure, which I'm seeing here. And obviously you can go ahead and create new files here. Here are your ways to customize the layout for you. Maybe I don't want to use secondary bar. I want to sync into left or right or panel where it should be there. Then I can go ahead and select different options from here to get started. Here is my chat option. We'll talk about that in a minute. There I can go ahead and say, okay, I want to go ahead and start with vibe or spec session. We'll discuss that. Here is your command prompt also. So any command I run here should be visible so that you don't have to keep on moving from a command interface to a text file or to a session or a prompt. Everything is built into one single page. And here are your integration of source control, if you can see. So here is a git changes if required when I did initial commit and all. Obviously there is option for running and debugging your code, and then some extension which we can add if the need be. Those are there. And here is what the Kiro thing is. So if you remember, I talked about that we go ahead and start with something called first starting with our requirement, and then we go ahead and then do design, and then we go ahead and perform our uh, task. So that is how this whole structure is designed for. And there are multiple options here like spec, agent hook, steering and scales, MCP server. So we'll talk about it if the time permits. If we are not able to cover everything, don't worry. Like in the workshop, you would be able to go through all these topics which I'm explaining to you here. Right. So this is a very easy to navigate interface. Obviously, you can use different theme, different font sizes and all, but it is a desktop application which I installed. And from here, I could keep on moving forward and keep on performing the task which I'm looking for. And to get started, here are my options. Like I go into chat and say, okay, do I want to go ahead with vibe coding or I want to go with spec-driven development? I could go ahead and put those prompts on that. So he will talk about it if the time permits, and we'll start building some applications based on that.
Makes sense. So just a small overview of if I have to build a feature, a small feature. So what are the type of specs that we have, and
Mhm.
yeah, what some of the capabilities also, if you can tell me
Yeah,
about it.
let's start by building a Sudoku game. Very simple one. I'm taking an example here. So let me get this prompt, and this is a link which I have kept into the slides also. Obviously, everyone gets the slide afterwards, so you should be able to get started with that. But let me bring this up, and we'll get started. That how easy it is to get started with Kiro. I'll open it into a browser, and we'll pick up from there some information, and we'll get started. Right. Let me go ahead and
Right.
pick up. So this is a workshop which people can run in their own environment if they want to. You can download it and then start with this hands-on lab. We have a different lab. So this is what we are trying to build. We want to build a Sudoku game. So we first need to get workshop. We need a builder ID. Okay, I forgot to mention it. How it integrates with AWS is through builder ID. So you need to register through builder ID. You could use your Gmail addresses also, should not be a problem. And then you can start building your Sudoku game. So I go here, I say open a project, and I go into specification and say, hey, I want to perform some automation for my Sudoku game. So I could start by putting some prompt, and that will be a starting point for me. So first thing I can do is here I open a project and get started. Now I've already done few of the things, so that's why here I'm just saying that please add few things to a steering file. This is what we could do, steering file. But let me go ahead here into Kiro again and ask that please go ahead and build a Sudoku game for me. Let me put a prompt here. So I'm going into spec and I'm saying, please build a Sudoku game or should have web interface and option to auto solve. Right. This is what my requirements are. And I go ahead and get started. Right. So what Kiro is now doing, it is creating something called steering document, including steering document. If you look here, there are a lot of steering documents I have. What is steering document? It is like a GPS. So when you are going from point A to point B, you could drive your own, but if you have a GPS, it will help you out in getting proper navigation. So let's say in this case, I want to follow specifications like, okay, I want to follow Java best practices. I want to follow a specific design I'm looking for. So all this information I can add into my steering document, which helps Kiro in guiding through the decision point it is making or to enhance the code it is creating. So now it has started with this process and it has included the steering document. I can see there is already Sudoku spec, some existing code in the workspace. It was able to find it. And now I can go ahead and look, Sudoku game is already fully built. You got this. You can open this, or you can go ahead and start. Want me to add anything to it, like more puzzle or number pad for mobile or something? So I could go ahead and do that. So what it did when I have started this project, it had gone into specification. So in this spec, this is my Sudoku web app, and this is my requirement which has been finalized on that. So see, I was talking to you about the three phases: requirement, then design, then task. So these are my requirements. So based on the prompt I have given, it has figured out, okay, what I need. I need a minimal browser-based Sudoku game built as a single web application, which player will fill in a 9 by 9 Sudoku grid. What is app? What is board? What is cell? This is giving you all the glossary terms also, so there is no confusion between developers when they are looking into it. My interpretation of a puzzle could be different than yours, right? So that's why it has come up with all these solutions. Then it started creating these user stories on that. So obviously, first thing we would need is display a Sudoku board. So remember, I just provided a prompt. We said I want to build a Sudoku game, and based on that prompt, it is able to figure out what is all required, and it has created my requirement, user stories, and all. And with user stories, we always create something called acceptance criteria. So this will be able to accept that this feature is valid or not once it fulfills these things. So second requirement, player input. As a player, I want to enter digits into empty cell so that I can attempt to solve the puzzle. So this is my requirement. Now all the validation required. So when a player enters a digit, now I don't have to write a code which will only accept digit into it, because Sudoku is only done by number. We do not need characters in that ABCD type of thing. So it will perform all those validation for me, will create those test cases, will run those test cases to ensure that we are following the standards we have defined for it. So everything starts with requirements. So here is my requirement file. Based on that, Once I'm happy with the requirement, I can go ahead into design phase. Design phase is where you talk more on the technical aspect of your application. So what I need a single page game delivered in a static HTML file. If I want to change it, this is what my file would look like: Sudoku index.html. What my key goals are. I don't need an installation. It should have minimal footprint, and it should be have wind detection. It should have backtracking. It should have conflict detection. All those type of stuff. So index.html is being created for me. Sudoku.js will be there where all the game logic will be. It is all done by Kiro for me based on the prompt I provided. So once I'm sure with requirement, I will then move on to the next phase and will say, okay, I want to design something. And once I am into design phase, once I approve it, I should be able to move on to the task list. So see this. Based on the design, it has created these simple tasks for me. And then I can start executing these tasks. So first it says how to implement a wind detection. So it will be done by non-zero value. What is my requirement? What would be my task associated with it? See this one, it is also performing validation of those requirements. So it's not just writing code, but ensuring that the code is of high quality and it is able to serve the requirement which you have specified on that. Obviously, there would be checkpointing required, then backtracking solver required. So all of this has been created by Kiro for me directly,
Great.
right?
So just to summarize, Ashish, so I think each stage is feeding into the other. So those steering
Exactly.
files you
So this
spoke
is like
about.
starting point requirements, right? Then we go to design. So this requirement is where we are able to get all this requirement sorted. Once I'm done with that, I will go ahead and say, okay, now I want to go to design phase. And in the workshop, which will be shown by Anmol later, you would be able to go through all these phases and learn all these things, right? And then I will create task, and then I could go ahead and say, okay, I'm happy with this. Let's go ahead and then perform the task running. So I already done that to save time. So that's what it happened. Like it was able to give me this Sudoku web app, and it has created all these files like design.md, my markdown file, requirements, and then task.md, and any output which is coming up that can also be stored here. Like there is a Sudoku, and in that I have my index.html file which has been created for me. Right. So this is how it is easy to get started. Shouldn't be a problem at all in getting these particular things started and then move it. Let me show what the output came out from that. Give me a minute. I'll bring that something up here. Kiro introduction, Sudoku. So this was the output generated once I had completed all this task. It was done yesterday. So this is my index.html, and within that, it has created this Sudoku game for me. And obviously, based on the design document, I could control. Okay, I asked it for a 9 by 9. I could go ahead and say no. I need something else. I need a bigger Sudoku. I need higher difficulty. Those type of thing. And here I could go ahead and add numbers and then move forward from there. So those is how a simple game has been created for me just by a prompt. So it may look vibe coding because I use a simple example, but I could go ahead and create more complicated things like, okay, let's build a fitness application which will help me to manage my fitness activities and determine if I'm actually doing the exercises and how many calories I burned in the process or not. So these kind of prompt which you start with, you are still talking in natural language, but to get started, it creates those requirement files and then keeps on adding to those requirements or refining those requirements through design talk. And at the end, it is able to create your required code or required application which you wanted it to. Does it
Great.
make
So
sense?
I just had one thing. So, say for example, after you created that Sudoku app, and I want to enhance it, say I want the user to be able to choose the different levels. So, if I
Yep.
vibe code at that point and say, hey, now make changes so that the first screen should allow the user to choose between beginner, intermediate. So, it will go and make changes in all of them, right? Requirements,
Exactly. So
the
it
design,
is able
and
to
the
see
task.
it is able to see the context and the relationship between all the files. Let's say now I say I want an authentication mechanism for this, right? So it has to
Yeah.
look into where all authentication mechanism will fit in, or I want to have those codes there into a databases. So it will figure out in what files we have to make changes. So it has those contexts, and what it will do, like if you are talking about an existing code base, it is able to store that information into something what we call sharing file. So in steering file, it is able to capture all the information I had. Like this was my Sudoku information. So all this information has been stored. What my design would look like, what would be my technical specification would be, structure, product, Java. This is all because I have done multiple projects. But when you start small, you would have only your specific files into it. And if you look here in this window, it says you can open index directly. And here it says Want me to add anything to it, like more puzzle, difficulty selection, a timer or number pad for a mobile? Okay, let's see. Yes, let's add a 3-minute timer. Right. So I'll go ahead and put this prompt on that. It will figure out that where this prompt needs to be implemented, what design change would be required for it, how it will affect the existing functionality, what code changes are required for that, and it will give you those specific things for me. So here it is asking me, see that it's not blindly going and forward doing all this thing. It is asking me question that, okay, are you building a feature or are you building fixing a bug? So obviously it is a building a feature. So it is waiting for my input. I go ahead and say, okay, this is my requirement. And I go ahead and say, okay, go ahead and build a feature for me. So it will go ahead and make changes into all the files which has created before. It has context, and based on the context, it will go ahead and provide this. So see this. What do you want to start with? Requirement or design? Obviously, this is my requirement. So I will go ahead with the requirement. I submit the answer. So I'm building a feature. I provided my requirement. It will now come up with the changes required into design. Once I approve it, it will go ahead and perform those code changes if the need. See this. So including engineering document, it is reading all the file which I have, and based on that, it will come up with what is required to be made changes and where it has to make changes. So here it is changing. So config.kiro exception, my requirements are being created or updated. As we see, the same file which I already created is getting updated because of the prompt which I have provided. So it gives you the vibe coding also, but it is not like completely going out of proportion. It is always keeping things on track based on the requirement you have and the design you are doing. And before you
Yeah.
move forward, it
Ashish,
will
I
ask
just
you a
wanted to
question.
point out that it is
Mhm.
interesting to note that it is also showing all the steering docs. So I guess
Exactly.
I can see that there is a steering doc for Java best practices. There are coding
Yep.
standards. So it will never go wild, right? It will always stick to
Yeah,
those.
means
And yeah,
exactly, because you may, let's say you're fixing a bug, and in your existing code, you already have standards to follow. You already have a way of writing your code, way of commenting, way of documenting. So you
correct.
could put this information into your steering file. And steering file, as I said, is a GPS which will keep you on track. So you don't
Correct.
navigate here and there. You always see where you have to go, and you have somebody. Even if you go here and there, GPS will tell you that, okay, you have taken a wrong path. Go to this lane, and you will be on the right path again. So it
Come
will
back.
take care of
Yeah.
all those integration required because of this.
Correct. And I think then I don't even have to add those specifications in the prompt itself because it has awareness of those steering files. So it
Yes,
prevents the
exactly.
context overload also. It always
You
knows
see, what
that.
happens, let's say if you go to model and provide all those Java best practices again as an input, then it will
Every
be
time.
too much big context for a model to understand. So what we do here, instead of bugging that context window, we provide that information into spec file, and sorry, into this your
Steering
steering
files.
file, and that based on that knowledge, the context is adjusted when requests are being going to the machine learning model behind the scene.
Great, great. Yeah,
Right.
totally
So see
makes
this.
sense.
So it has come up with this. So except creation of design.md. Now, if I go into this design.md, it would be able to tell me that what all changes it has done on this cases. So right here, it is my requirement. I will go ahead and see this my product MD, visual design MD, and I should be able to go ahead and make changes in that if the so it's a little intuitive, but it has like lots of pain, so people get confused. So don't rush. Take your time. Trying to understand what it is trying to do, whether it is working or not. So see this one, it is working on config.kiro, requirements.md, and design.md. So here it is showing me what it has done, what files we have, and other information like the console port information. All of these are there. So we do not have time to cover everything, but what I'll do, I'll give you all the details. Like if a spec is in spec, we have user stories. In design, we have architectural design. In task, we have implementation steps, and then I have given you the analogy for steering document, what is inside a steering document, why steering matters, and I use the analogy like we use GPS to move forward from one place to another place. Same way, we have used steering document, so we guide Kiro how a solution should be built based on the requirement we have given to it. And then we have MCP integration also. So if you go ahead and check into the Kiro console I have opened, there is an integration with MCP server also. So it is not just doing things for you, but it is getting things done through other agents also if you want to get started. So here I have integrated few MCP servers like fetching something from AWS, documentation, Playwright. I may use a document, I may use a design app here like AWS Diagram Builder as a MCP. So whatever I created, it can be created into AWS Diagram. So a lot of integrations are possible which can be done. So we'll give you all these slides so that you could go ahead and get lots of stuff. And then it has integration with third parties also. So let's say you want to follow best practices of Postman or Stripe payment integration or Datadog observability. So it has integration through Kiro Power. So the other icon which was shown into the console is of Kiro Powers. Here, the last one here. So this is Kiro Powers, which you can also install and create your own custom powers to enhance its functionality if the need. Right. So we have time constraint, Parna. Otherwise, I would have loved to walk you through all these features. But yeah, we'll give you slides to this so that you could go ahead and get more things started. Also, we have key takeaways here, like start with real problem, not the technology. Technology is solving a problem, but you should focus on what the problem is actually. Use Kiro for prototyping, validate ideas quickly. Spec-based development scale beyond developers, so multiple teamwork members can work on that. And you can insert Kiro in your SDLC, enables collaboration across technical boundaries. I've also included lots of workshops here you can try on your own. And then I've included links for some reinvent videos which can be really useful to learn further on that. So we obviously could not cover everything we wanted to because of time constraint, but I hope it has given a lot of information for people to get started and start utilizing these things.
Yeah, this definitely was insightful, and I'm looking forward to my journey to AI based development. Thank you so much,
It's
Ashish.
interesting, and thing is, it is AI. Like start with something, even if it is a small thing. Start with it and keep on building on top of it. So don't hesitate. Download Kiro. There is no cost to download. There are some free tokens on that. And whatever I did, like I would be able to see how many tokens I consume. So just the last thing before I give it to the uh, behavioral track, see this. So Kiro free bonus, I had 500 for to be consumed in 28 days. For all the things I have done from last yesterday, I have just consumed 90.9. So that will obviously help you to be on track and what is your current status and how much you consume, how much is remaining. So there's no problem in starting these things. All right, good. Thanks everyone, and hope everyone has enjoyed. I know we have 2 minutes to consume others' time, so let's now start with the behavioral track, building your AI enhanced essay practice. So thanks, Parna, and we'll see you again. Let me bring Achal to the stage and also Jeff. So Jeff and Achal, all to you. Sorry for being a little late here, but hopefully you would be able to cover what you wanted to. And thanks for leading this session. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashish.
Thanks, Ashish. Welcome everybody to week 6 of our Becoming a Solution Architect and our behavior track today. Today we're going to be focusing on building your AI enhanced essay practice. Partnered today with Anshul once again. We were here for I think week 2. Happy to be working with her. So we're going to be kind of going through a little bit of a role play scenario again. So Anshul and I, kind of the scenario here is we're kind of catching up over a cup of coffee. We've been working together over the last several weeks, going through some of the tools here and some of the techniques and getting ready for a customer. And then, Anshul, wants to, get a little bit more advice before she starts going off and kind of building her own personal practice.
Thank you, Jeff. I think we're good to get started.
Yeah.
So, Jeff, 6 weeks ago when I came into this program, I was worried that AI was going to make me irrelevant. It was honestly, I was worried that it was going to take my job. So, and now here we are. I feel like now I know how to use these tools. So, but I'm realizing that I've been treating these AI tools kind of reactively. I only reach out to it when it's convenient. So, how do I make it a consistent part of how I work?
Yeah, that's the right question for where you are right now. Moving from, I use AI sometimes to I have a personal AI practice. It's the jump that separates people who dabble from people who compound the benefits over time. Let's start with the toolkit and then we'll build out the workflow.
Yeah, sure. Walk me through what you use.
Yeah, I keep it simple. 4 categories. First, general purpose AI, things like Party Rock or ChatGPT or Claude Gemini. These are go-tos for documentation, architecture brainstorming, and customer prep. Each has different strengths. Personally, I use VS Code with Klein and Claude Sonnet is my default for long-form analysis and anything that needs nuanced reasoning. However, you can use any tool which works for you. All you really need here for this step is a connection to a large language model.
So what do? Do you bounce between them?
Strategically, I've learned, which tool I trust for which task. For initial architecture generation service comparisons, you might use things like Copilot or Cursor or Kiro. These all understand context within a code base, not just like a single prompt. Kiro is good for AWS-centric work. That's purpose-built for AWS services. Other tools are built for other, service providers. So you can kind of use what works for you there.
So what about specialized tools? Because I've seen various specialized tools that are out there today. You have diagram generators, you have AWS architecture generators, you have cost calculators, etc.
Yeah, that's really my third category. Tools like Mermaid can turn a text description into an architecture diagram. AWS has its own pricing calculator and architecture tools. For security reviews, there's AI-assisted scanning tools that go, deeper than just general purpose AI can. You don't need them all. Just know that they exist and which ones you can pull in for specific tasks that you have in mind.
And what about enterprise AI? Because we have internal tools within the company as well.
Yeah, that's a big one and something we really haven't kind of talked about yet. This is category 4, and it's important. Enterprise AI tools are typically have data governance built into them. Your conversations aren't used for training, retention policies are defined, and you have more control over what data stays internal. When I'm working with real customer data, proprietary information, or anything sensitive, I use only the enterprise approved tools. Now here's the part most people miss. We talked about tools, and having tools isn't a practice. A practice is having specific points in your day and week where AI is integrated by default. Let me show you how I've structured mine.
Yeah, go ahead. Give me a walkthrough of it.
Yeah, so my morning. Before I look at my calendar, I spend 5 minutes briefing my AI tool, my general purpose AI tool. I'm like, what customer meetings do I have today? What's the context? Any news or announcements that may have happened overnight with those customers that I should know about, or things relative to their industry. It services things that I might have missed, that I maybe don't have the time to do, and it kind of keeps me sharp. Then pre-meeting prep. For every customer meeting I have, I give AI the customer context, the industry, the tech stack, the business priorities, known constraints, and then I ask for 5 most important things to understand about their space this quarter. Takes me 10 minutes, shows up in the quality of my questions. During the engagement, quick lookups, cost estimates, service comparisons. I have a few prompt templates, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, ready so that I can get useful answers in under like a minute or two without breaking the flow of the conversation. And then post-analysis. I paste my notes into the tool that we talked about earlier, and I use AI to extract requirements, identify gaps, follow-up suggestions, things that I didn't maybe necessarily ask that I needed to bring up. This alone has caught more blind spots than I could have ever done on my own. And then, lastly, like my weekend review, something I just did yesterday. It's Friday. I spent 30 minutes on Friday asking AI to help me look up across my active engagements. What kind of patterns could we see about maybe some of the problems that I've been facing across different customers or projects? What opportunities might exist for optimizing things? And honestly, where might I be behind on some of the documentation that I need to do?
Wow, that's more systematic than I expected. So you have your morning routine, then you have a pre-meeting prep, you have a during engagement, you have post-meeting, and you have a weekly review as well. But that begs me to my next question. Can I maintain all of that?
Yeah, start with one. Pick, pre-meeting prep or the post-meeting analysis, whichever creates kind of the more immediate value for you, and then get into muscle memory before adding, get the muscle memory on that one before adding the other ones. Here's the next thing I want to talk about here. We talked about it briefly there. It's building this prompt library, and I built my prompt library here. I kind of maintain it as like a little bit of a repo. And these are reusable prompts that I've tested and refined for the most common essay tasks that I have. And over time, the library becomes one of the more personal, valuable assets that I have in my professional essay toolkit.
That's interesting. So what categories do you organize yours by?
Yeah. So I in whatever works for you, I organize mine by one, discovery questions, prompts that generate stakeholder specific, interview type things. Second, architecture generation prompts for specific patterns like event driven or microservices or hybrid cloud. Fourth, cost analysis. These are prompts that help me generate itemized estimates for a given set of services. Security view prompts that check against compliance frameworks. And then finally, documentation templates that can turn bullet points into a polished architecture decision record or executive summary. These aren't just time savers. They're a way of kind of encoding what good looks like into a reusable tool.
Wow. So, and then you share it with the team?
Yeah, absolutely. I mentioned I use it as a repo here, and this is something I spend a lot of time talking with teams about. We can learn from each other, we can share these things, and we start to kind of build these up. And this is really where the compounding interest kicks in. When your whole team is sharing and refining prompts, everyone gets better faster. We spend 20 minutes every other week just kind of swapping what's working and what's not working, kind of sharing ideas. It actually becomes one of the highest value team rituals, and it's something we discuss now and share ideas through prompts.
That's amazing, and I can see the value in it. But I want to make this concrete. So can you walk me through how AI fits end to end from the moment I hear about a new customer opportunity, for example, to the moment I deliver the final recommendation?
Yeah, sure. I'll use a recent engagement, for example. A retail customer, mid-market, wants to modernize their inventory management system. And here's how AI touched every stage. First on discovery. Before the first call, I spent 45 minutes doing AI-assisted research. I asked for an overview of the inventory of management monetization patterns, in mid-market retail, key cloud services involved, top failure models in these. And I came into discovery call with a point of view instead of just kind of a blank page.
So what did you do during the call itself then?
Yeah, I had a few prompts on standby. For quick reference, when the customer mentioned they were using a specific legacy ERP system that I wasn't deeply familiar with, I did a 30-second lookup on the cloud integration patterns, during a natural break in the conversation. No one knew that I didn't have that memorized. The customer just experienced me as prepared. And then right after the call, I pasted my notes into the model that I'm using, and I asked, identify all functional requirements, non-functional requirements, and open questions. And it gave me a structured list in 3 minutes. I flagged 2 gaps that I glossed over. The customer mentioned in real-time inventory visibility without specific latency requirements. And they referenced compliance without naming the framework. And these became good follow-up questions for me.
So that post-meeting step that you have seems like a really high leverage 5 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. Most essays let requirements gaps fester for weeks because they don't have the time to take to kind of analyze their notes. And AI can really kind of compress that analysis into minutes. Then moving on here to the second phase, architecture design phase. Once I have those solid requirement lists, I then use AI to generate, typically 3 candidate architectures. Might be overkill. Sometimes you can do 2 at different price to capability points. Maybe serverless, maybe container, maybe a hybrid, each with rough cost estimates. And I use those as a starting point for the trade-off conversation. And I can get that done in usually under a day, under an hour, instead of usually like a day and a half or 2 days worth of work.
I see. And then you apply it to the judgment layer.
Yeah, this is where the human work begins, right? I looked at each architecture capability and asked, does this work given what I know about the customer's team capabilities? Does it account for their existing on-prem Oracle databases that can't migrate? Does it match the budget conversation we had, a month ago? We said it before, AI generated architectures that were 65, 70% of the way there, getting to that 90%. that requires everything that everything that you, and everything that the team knows about the customer that AI doesn't.
Yeah, makes sense.
And then finally onto delivery. When it comes time to document and present, AI generates the executive summary for me, the architecture decision records, and the cost comparison tables. I review them, I refine them, I add customer specific narrative. Why is this approach good for you specifically? Language that makes the recommendation land with the team I'm delivering to. So the final deliverable is sharper than I could have produced solo and in a lot less time.
So in all these phases, where is human judgment most critical?
Yeah, 3 places. First, understanding the human context, the team dynamics, the risk tolerance levels, the political sensitivity that's there. These things never show up in a brief. Second, trade-off decisions under uncertainty. When there's no clear right answer and you have to weigh competing priorities, like navigating the gray space is kind of what I call it. And third, communications strategy. Who hears what, in what order, kind of framed in that way. AI can draft the content that needs to be communicated, but AI can't read the room that you're in as you're delivering it. Only you can.
So the last one is rather interesting. AI can write the words, but it cannot decide the strategy.
Yeah, exactly. AI can draft an executive summary, and it's good at that. I use it all the time. But I can't outsource the judgment of whether to lead with risk mitigation or business upside, depending upon what I know about the CTO. That judgment's mine. That's what I'm getting paid for.
So one thing that feels overwhelming is just how fast this space is moving, right? New tools are coming out every single week. So how do you keep up with without it becoming a full-time job?
Yeah. The fear of missing out here can be real. And I have to be intentional about this because early on, if I kind of go back, 6 months ago, I was spending 2 hours a week just reading about new tools and not really actually using any of them better. I call it AI tourism. Lots of looking, not much building.
So how do you fix that?
I shifted my question around these new tools from like, what's new to what would meaningful improve a specific workflow that I already have. When a new tool comes out, I put it through, a series of filtering questions. One, does this new tool do something I'm currently doing slowly? Does it do something that I can't do at all? And is the adoption of this cost justified by the benefit? Most new tools fail at least one of those tests for where I am right now.
Okay. So what about evaluating a new tool you haven't tried?
Yeah. Here, I give it a real task, not like a toy demo or, a hello world type of thing. Give it a real task. If a new AI coding assistant comes out, I give it a Terraform module that I need to write anyway. If a new architecture analysis tool comes out, I use it on a real customer engagement I'm actively working. Real task, real output, real judgment lets me know whether that tool is worth adding to kind of like my tool stack.
Okay, makes sense. So continuous learning, how do you structure that without it becoming reactive?
Yeah, I plan for it, monthly 1 hour block. I pick an AI capability that I've been curious about and then go deep on it, not just shallow reading, but actual hands-on practice. Last month, it was AI assisted security reviews. The month before that, it was AI for contract and statement of work analysis. Each block of that 1 hour kind of combines, and over 6 months, you'll see 6 meaningful capability upgrades into your own personal toolbox.
Hey, Jeff. And Anshul, sorry to interrupt. Wanted to ensure that the slides are moving because some of them are complaining. So we are on AI assisted workflow as of now. Is it the intended slide?
Yep.
Good. Makes sense. No worries.
Thanks, Ash. You're good. So, okay, thanks, Jeff, for that. So what about learning from other people? I feel like I'm mostly figuring this out on my own.
Yeah, community here is underrated. People who are moving fastest with AI aren't the ones who are reading the most blog posts. They're the ones who are talking to other practitioners, like what you and I have been doing for the last weeks, about what's working. That's what the prompt sharing sessions in our teams have become. I learned more in 20 minutes of, here's a prompt that changed my work week from another coworker than I do in an hour of solo reading. So I say, work to find 2 or 3 people in your network who are using AI seriously in their work, and have a standing monthly check-in. Share what's working, what's failing, what are you trying next. That community of practice will accelerate you faster than any newsletter that you can read.
Got it. So I now want to talk about the responsible use of some of these. So I want to be honest with you, this part of it, the responsible use of AI adoption, is that something that makes me a little nervous. I've been using AI tools in a very casual way, and I'm not sure if I've thought carefully enough about what I should and shouldn't be putting into them.
Yeah. Hey, discomfort is healthy in this space. Most people either ignore this completely or overreact and become so cautious that they barely use AI at all. The answer is it's really somewhere in the middle. It comes from having a clear mental model of what's okay and what isn't.
Okay, yeah, no, I keep going in between these two things, either being I ignore it completely or I overreact a lot of times. So where's the line? What can and can't I share with these AI tools?
Yeah, so here's the mental model I use, and 3 questions I ask before putting anything, any data, anything into an AI tool. First, is it public information? Is it industry trends, documentation, generic architecture patterns? Those kinds of things are fine. Second, is what I'm working with customer identifiable? Anything that names the customer I'm working with, their specific technical environment, their financials, their proprietary processes. Here you want to be careful. And third, is it regulated data? PII, PHI, financial records, anything under a compliance framework, never in a public AI tool without explicit authorization.
I see. So what about the middle ground? Like if I want to analyze a customer's architecture, but I don't want to put in their actual name and details.
Obviously I face that a lot, and this is where anonymization comes in. It takes an extra 60 seconds and it's worth it. So instead of saying something like, here's an architecture for Meridian's financial payment system, instead, here's an architecture for a mid-sized financial services company processing 500,000 transactions daily. You'll get the same quality analysis without the exposure. Same principle for anything with, team names, executive names, details, anonymize it.
I see. And enterprise versus public AI tools, how do I think about that choice?
Yeah, default rule. If you're working with customer specific anything, use enterprise tools. That's what we do inside our own company. Our enterprise tools, they've been vetted by legal, they've been vetted by security. The conversations we're having with them are not used for model training. Data retention is controlled. When I'm using a public tool like a free tier of something like a ChatGPT, I kind of treat it the same way I treat using the free Wi-Fi at a coffee shop, only for things I wouldn't mind being public.
That's a good analogy. So what about data retention? I don't think I've ever actually read those policies, honestly.
And most people haven't, right? Here's the short version. Public AI tools, especially free tiers, often retain your conversation history and may even be used to improve their own model. Whereas enterprise tools, they have explicit contractual limits on the retention and use. Build your own workflow around any tool. Spend 10 minutes to understand the data policy. Your customers are trusting you with sensitive information, and the trust travels with you into the tools that you use.
Okay, understood. So we're using AI responsibly over here. Now, what do I tell the customer? Do I say, hey, by the way, I used Claude to draft this?
Good question. I think about this carefully. The principle I follow is, be transparent about the process, but not necessarily every tool. You probably don't tell them every tool you were using for coding and static code analysis and stuff like that. You don't itemize every tool in your normal workflow. So you don't tell a customer, hey, I used Google to look that up, or I used the cost estimator for that estimate. AI is the same. It's part of your professional toolkit.
But what if they ask me directly?
Be directly honest with them. Yes, I use AI to accelerate research and first draft documentation, and I validate everything against primary sources and customer context before presenting it. Uh, that's not just acceptable. Many customers respect it. It signals that you're staying current with how the field's evolving.
Are there situations where I should proactively mention it though?
When AI is a meaningful part of the value delivery, yeah, absolutely, go ahead. If a customer's asking you about, how you produce something at the pace that would have been impossible 6 months ago, you'd be proud of it. I've been integrating AI tools into my workflow for the last 6 months, and it's been meaningful for me to accelerate my ability to do deep analysis. That's a feature of you being an evolved SA, not a confession of something.
It feels like it though. But what about setting expectations? Sometimes I wonder if customers will think that the work is less rigorous because now AI is involved.
Flip it around. AI doesn't reduce rigor. It changes where you apply that rigor. That rigor moves from generating the first draft to validating, contextualizing, and refining. That's higher value rigor. What customers care about is whether the recommendation is right for them. They don't care what tools you use to get there. If you can defend output, as long as you can defend the output, and if you can, it's great because you validated it. The phrase I use internally, I've researched several approaches for your use case, and I want to talk you through the specific trade-offs. That's accurate, it's transparent, and it doesn't undermine the confidence in the quality of your thinking.
Got it. That makes sense. So now I want to come back to the customer angle. How do you position AI assistance to customers? Now, not just when they ask, but as a part of how you present yourself and your value.
Yeah, think about it in two contexts. First, beginning with an engagement and the ongoing relationship. At the beginning, I don't lead with, I use AI. I lead with, I can deliver, I can turn around a comprehensive architecture analysis in 2 days instead of 2 weeks. The customer doesn't care about my tools, they care about the outcome.
But if the speed itself becomes a conversation point?
Then I'm open about it. I've evolved my workflow significantly over the past year to integrate AI tools in a way that accelerates analysis without sacrificing quality. It means I can give you better options faster and with more rigorous trade-off analysis than was possible before. Again, it's not a confession. It's a competitive differentiator for me as a solution architect.
How do you demonstrate value while being transparent?
You know what? It goes back to what my math teacher said, show your work. When I present a recommendation, I walk through the options, consider the trade-offs that I've analyzed, and why did I land where I land. And the customer's not evaluating my tools, they're evaluating the quality of my reasoning. If my reasoning is sound and my judgment is demonstrated, tools I use are irrelevant.
That's true. But what about customers who are skeptical of AI in general? We have a few who are cautious.
Yeah, there's two kinds of skeptics. First, people were worried about AI making decisions without human judgment. For them, I emphasize that AI, it's part of my research and drafting workflow, not in the decision making. Every recommendation comes with my professional judgment behind it, and I can defend those. And second, customers who worry about their data. For these customers, I'm explicit about the data governance practices we follow. Using enterprise-approved tools with strict data retention policies and anonymizing specific things. That usually lands well.
Okay, I see. And for customers who are excited about AI, do you lean in more?
Oh, absolutely. With them, I go further. I might show them the prompts that I've used for a discovery prep session and walk them through how I used AI to generate and stress test architectural options. It becomes a conversation about how they might use, some of that AI themselves. Some of my best recent engagements have pivoted from design my architecture to help me build an AI practice for my own engineering team, like what we're talking about right now. Because the customer saw how I was working and they wanted to do the same.
That's a whole new category of customer value, honestly.
Yeah, it is. And it's only available to SAs who've built a real AI practice for themselves, not just used it occasionally. You can't coach credibly a customer on building something that you haven't done yourself.
Makes sense. So, and Jeff, we've been through 6 weeks together, and I feel like today is where it all crystallizes. Give me the action plan. What do I do starting Monday?
Yeah, three things. One, pick one workflow to integrate AI into this week. Just one. My recommendation is, post-meeting analysis. After your next customer call, paste all your notes into your enterprise tool and ask AI to, find the requirements, the gaps, the follow-up questions. Do that for 2 weeks straight and tell me it doesn't change how you run engagements. Second, start your own prompt library. Open a document right now and create 5 prompt categories: discovery, architecture, cost, security, and documentation. And populate each with prompts that you've used. Share it with others. And every time you find something that works, the library will be more valuable to you in a year than almost anything you could have done. And third, find your learning community. 2 or 3 people who are using AI seriously, and start a monthly check-in. Have a cup of coffee with them. The discipline of teaching what you know and learning from others is what turns these individual experiments into just compounding interest practice.
What about the mindset underneath all of this? If I had to distill everything from 6 weeks into one sentence about how to think about being an AI enhanced SA.
Yeah. Your judgment, your customer relationships, your ability to synthesize complexity into clear recommendations, those are absolutely not replaceable. AI amplifies every one of them. It doesn't substitute for a single one.
So the job isn't to be better than AI at what AI does well. It is to be indispensable at what AI can't do.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's the thing about this moment in our profession. The essays who figure out this combination first, serious AI capability plus irreplaceable human judgment, they're going to be far ahead of the curve on that than anyone else. You spent 6 weeks figuring it out, and that's real.
Okay, I'm going to go brief Claude on customer. We're meeting this afternoon and see what I missed in my prep.
Absolutely. Now you're thinking like an AI enhanced essay. One more thing before we go.
What's that?
The best solution architects in the era of AI won't be those who resist AI or those who blindly trust it. Rather, they'll be the ones who thoughtfully integrate AI to amplify their expertise, deepen their customer relationships, and deliver exceptional value. That's the whole thing over the last 6 weeks, all in one sentence.
I'm going to put that on a sticky note above my desk. Thank you so much,
Awesome.
Jeff.
Yeah, now go build your personal practice.
Thank you so much.
That was a great advice, Jeff, and really useful. Really nice conversation talking about how to use AI for your benefit, where to be transparent, what to be aware about. And it's a very common thing, and you don't get this information just by reading a book. This comes from experience which Jeff Archel has been doing work with. So, really great session. Thank you so much. And people who missed it, I would say check the recordings again. This was a really, really great way of explaining AI use to your customer because as you said, Ansel, some customers may be skeptical on using AI, or maybe itself you are as an engineer or SAR being skeptical. So, what are the best way of using it? So, thank you. That is really great session. All
Thank you.
right.
Happy to do it.
And we will have these slides available to you. So everyone who is watching, we will keep these slides updated and we'll keep it into the place where you can get it. So don't worry. And let's now move on to the next stage. That is about a workshop. So thanks, Jeff and Achal. I'll now invite Anmol, who would help us in getting the idea of workshop. So Anmol, we are building a arcade style game today with Kiro Express. So take it away. If you want to share screen, let me know and I can add your screen here. Prasad, you had to say something. You are on mute probably.
One thing, Anmol, before you take it away, to everyone who was asking the questions about, till when they can take the quizzes, what are the next steps after this batch ends, hold on to it. We will cover it in the last 15 minutes after the section that Anmol covers. We do have few slides to talk about what's next and how can we be engaged continually until what time you will be able to get the badges and certifications.
Thank you. So, Anmol, let me know if I will add your screen and I'll remove mine. And give me a minute, I'll add it again.
Yes, I
Yep,
think.
all the way to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashish. Hi, everyone. This is Anmol again. So today we will be going over workshop on the Kiro Express. So I'll start from the landing page here. Once you click the link, this is the landing page you are going to see today on the workshop. In this particular workshop, we will be going over the fundamental of Kiro as we discuss on in our technical session, and we will get a chance to do the hands-on on this thing. So in this workshop, we're going to build an arcade game, which is called the Flappy Kiro. It's a version of a Flappy Bird. So we will be doing it. We will be creating it by using Kiro. In this workshop, we will be focusing on the spec-driven development as we discuss on the technical session. Um, this workshop, it mentions here that it will take like 90 minutes for this workshop, but I'll highly encourage you to play around it. Get familiar with the Kiro and try to enhance the function of the game, or just test it around. So it says that the basic coding skill is useful, but Kiro will be take care of it. Don't worry on that one. Once you so this particular workshop, which is going to be on your local system, you're going to download the Kiro in your system, and going to run all the prompts and the projects over there. So there is no provisioning of the workshop required for this one. Only downloading the Kiro and going with that. So let's get started with the workshop. I'll walk you around this three sections on this workshop. First is the starting of the workshop, where we are going over the installing of the Kiro and initializing the project. Then we will be looking into the creating the application, generating requirements, producing design, and the task implementation. After that, the third section will be generating the staging files and building the app. Okay, so I'll walk you through that. Let's go to the first section here. This is like downloading and installing of the Kiro. So as we discussed earlier, that it is recommended to use your AWS Builder ID to log in into the Kiro. As I can see, you will be getting I think you will be getting like 500 credits on that one once you log in into the Kiro first time over there, and 50 credits a month on the free plan. So this is the link to download the Kiro. Once you open the Kiro, you will be prompting a screen like this, where you have multiple options to log in. Select the builder ID and sign in into the Kiro. Once you sign in into the Kiro, you will see a panel like this. So on the middle, you will see the editor. On the right hand side, down, you will see the chat panel. Left hand side, you will see a navigation panel. And once you click on the Kiro Ghost, you will see the Kiro panel. Let me show you here on the screen. So I already downloaded the Kiro, and this is how it looks like. So on the middle, you can see the editor. On the right hand side here, you can see the chat panel. Left hand side, you see the file explorer. Once I click here, and when I click on the Kiro host here, you will see the Kiro panel, where you will be seeing your specs, agent hooks, agent steering, and the MCP server section here. Okay. So now, once you have this thing, when we go further down, it is just explaining the components which I just showed you on the screen. The chat panel, Kiro panel, specs, agent hooks, and the agent steering and MCP. I would recommend you to go over it, give it a time to grasp all the information, open the hyperlinks and study about it, and understand the concept over there. And we already discussed it in the technical session too. Now let's move to the next part where we are going to initialize the project. So here you will see two options. Since we are doing it locally on your system, we have this Mac OS and Windows option here to follow the instructions. So first step is when you're going to create a folder like the Kiro instructions, create that, open it into your Kiro application, and then you're going to curl the project and unzip it into the terminal. Once you get the project and unzip it, you will see some content like this. So you will see the asset, image, and some content here. Let me show you that. So once I go here, I also performed that action already. So like here I did the curl and unzip. So I'm using the Windows machine. So I followed the Windows instructions over there. Once I unzip this content, I can see the asset here and the image section on the file explorer. Okay. Now let's move ahead. Once you have that one, we are going to initialize the local Git over there. So it's just an advice. If you're doing it first time and if you don't have Git, you need to install the Git in your CLI or in your machine. So you can ask Kiro to, you can also ask Kiro to generate the command to install Git in your system. And then you can run this Git repository initialization and the first commit for that particular, for our project. Once you're done with this, once you're done with initializing the project, we are good with our workshop setup, and now we can move to the step where we are going to create the application. So this is the section where we are going to actually work on creating the application. So as you see, like on the session, right, on the chat panel, there are two sessions, Vibe and the Spec session. For this workshop, we are going to go with the Spec session. So whenever you go here, you see when you click on this new session, right, you will get two options, Vibe and Spec. Select the Spec here, and we will start working on it after that. So once you selected the Spec session over there, in the spec-driven development, as we discussed earlier, there are three things, three stages which Kiro is going to help you build your application. First is going to be the requirements, second is going to be the design, and third is going to be the task. So once you provided the spec, it is going to create a requirement.md file over there. If you're happy with it, you can just move forward to the design phase. If you're not, you can just change, edit and request the changes for that MD file. It will do it for you, and then you can just validate it. Follow the same loop on the design section too, and on the task section, and then you will be good. We will be seeing it in the coming sections too. So please be with me. One thing with the Kiro is, like whenever you stop it and stop and start again, you will come to the same session. Like either you end up with the design, like once you left it in the design part, you will come up on that particular session of that on the part for the Kiro. So let's move to actually generating the requirement for our project. So since we are creating a Flappy Kiro, right? So what we are going to do, as per the instructions here, you see the attachment icon here on the chat panel. You click on that, and then you will be selecting the image which is given on the file directory over there, and then you will copy this particular prompt here and paste it. So if you go here, you will see on the right hand side chat panel, you will click on this attach image or document icon. And once you click on it, you will see this Kiro introduction and then image. Click on this and then just open it here. Copy the prompt, paste it. I did it earlier, and I can show it here. So this is what I did, right? It just goes on, and then the first thing it will ask you that, hey, since it looks like a new thing you are building, should I build a new feature for it? So you should select the build a feature button over there, and then it will ask you that, hey, I'm going to generate the requirement. Just select the requirement section over there. Once you do these two things, click on these two buttons, right? It will accept the creation of this, and it will create a requirements.md file in your spec directory here under .kiro. So this is the requirements.md file in the first phase of the 3 stages. Go through this, go through the requirements.md file, and if you think there is any changes, just ask Kiro to do it. It will implement the change and show you again, like it will give you the prompt again that, hey, this is ready, you can check. And then if you are good, just ask the Kiro to move to the design phase. We will see it in the workshop too. It is already instructed over there. So as we discuss, once you enter this thing, it will ask you to build a feature, submit the answer, and then it will ask for then you will be selecting the requirements and submit that answer too. Once it is ready, it will give you the requirements.md file here. And then if you want to do any changes, we have some like extra prompt to do it. So if you want to give it a try, give it a try over there, or whatever changes you want to do, like you can give it a try on that one. So this is how it works with the requirement. There are some more example, like with refining the specification. Once you're good with the requirement part, requirements.md file, right? Please add it to the Git. This is updating the Git repository by running these 2 commands. Once we are done with this, once you're good with requirement.md file and updated the Git over there, you can then we need to provide the prompt to Kiro that, hey, let's move to the design phase. So you see this thing, and then we are providing it to the Kiro. It will move to the next designing phase after that. So once we provided that, I also provided it here in my chat panel. Once I provided move to the design phase, it goes to the design phase here, and it accepted that and created a design.md file. It follows the same process, same loop, right? It gets into the design.md. It creates the design.md file. It gives you the output here, and then you can do the same loop. Either if you're good with it, you can move to the next phase, or you can review, edit, or change the design.md file based on your requirement. So here it is showing the same thing, that like examine the draft. Once the draft is created, examine it, and then refine it if you need anything. There are some more prompts for the best practices, or like some updates to the design here, so you can follow that one. These are optional, but give it a try. So once you do that, once you're good with your design part, you can update the Git again by running this command here. So once you do that, we will be there is a button on the right hand side top corner which says continue. Once you click on that, you will be getting a generate task option over there. Click on that button to move to the next phase. That is going to be the task list. So here, if I go to the Kiro, if I click on this continue button, here it is giving me the review task button option here, because I already executed all the tasks over there. But if you haven't done it, like you will be going to do it first time, you will be seeing a button option called generate task, and once you click on it, it will go on to the next phase and will be generating the task.
Yeah, and in between, if any of you get stuck, ask Kiro the question that, hey, I'm stuck on this part, or I'm having difficulty here, or this is the error message I got, and it will be able to give you the solution also. So we also have a video published that you can go ahead and check into it, where we solve the whole workshop. And Anmol has walked you through the all critical steps which are required for it. So this will help you in getting started. You do not need any workshop account for it. This whole thing can be done internally on your own laptop. Only if you see something there was called optional, which says deploy on AWS. If you want to do it, you would need your own AWS account, but whatever we discussed so far, all these things can be done on your local machine at all. No problem at all on that.
Got it.
Right. Thanks, Anmol. Nice walkthrough, and obviously you were able to provide the required information, and that will help people in understanding. So thanks for that. And now we want to close this session. We have like 6-7 minutes left, so we'll talk about what are the next step for it. But thanks, Anmol, and we'll keep the videos available so that everyone can look into it.
Thank you, Anmol. That was really good.
Prashant.
So, Ashish, do you want to share your screen?
Yeah, I'll do that. So obviously, build this game really easy to get started with. No complications on that. Should not be an issue. Let me change something. I have to remove someone's media here. I remove it, and now I'm adding mine on that. So obviously, we've been into 6. Will credits be provided for Kiro to complete the workshop? No, they will not be sent on Daniel. Once you register your uh, builder ID, you automatically get credit for Kiro. So we do not send any email with credits. Once you create your builder ID, you will automatically create credit for Kiro. All right.
So in the
Now,
post-session email, we will just send the link of the workshop, and that workshop
yep.
would be available for you to do anytime. But the support from the volunteers and from the community volunteers will be provided till tomorrow, 4 p.m. GMT, the general schedule that volunteers come and support. So that will be there. So please try and do it in next 24 hours if that is possible. But otherwise, also you can do it in your own time.
And Kiro is your best friend. Before you raise the question in volunteers, ask Kiro that, hey, I'm stuck here, or I'm getting this error, and it should be able to help you out there. So hopefully it should be easy for you. Now, just some housekeeping item, because it's the last day and we wanted to like bring up a lot of stuff. A lot of people asked that what could be the next step. So obviously it's a summit season coming up, and AWS London Summit is on 22nd April. I am going there. Prasad would be there also, and few of others too. So if you have time, meet us there. We will plan some meetup at London Summit at the at the tail end of the summit, so that it would be easy for us to actually meet face to face and hear your question, feedback, suggestion that how we can improve. So no agenda, just let's meet up. Let's see how we can help each other. That's all we'll try to do into London Summit. And summits are good to attend. Like even if you are not in London but in other places, if you are having time and resources to go to a summit, go and attend it. You will have like-minded people who are there to attend the summit, build connection, learn technology, and maybe get some goodies also.
Yes.
Right.
So, and we will post about the details on the Discord channel. We might ask someone to volunteer, probably help, with some logistics and stuff. But let's try and catch up as much as possible on 22nd April.
Great. And we want to thank all the volunteers who helped us. This could not be possible because without you. Obviously, we had 1,000+ people doing workshop at a given point in time, and we could not scale it without the help you all provided. On your weekend, on your odd time zones, you provided the help. Obviously, we were not able to get everyone's name here, but whoever responded, they are all here. And obviously, there are many people we missed out, but everyone, thank you so much for making PESA workshop community successful, because without you, we could not have been supporting all these people.
Yeah, like this is the first time when we saw so many community volunteers jumping in and helping each other. That was amazing. Till now, we were, like mostly AWS folks who were helping out the community. in the previous batches. But as we scale, that would not be possible. We will need more and more community volunteers to do it. So thank you so much for doing it and spending so much valuable time of yours on weekend helping others.
Yeah, and we realized that this community is so lively and so vibrant that we could leverage you for some other stuff also to help each other. So we will figure out a way that how we can keep this community live and engaged, and we'll come out with some more ways on that. Also, want to thank WizLab because they supported us with the Agentic AI video course and then with the Generative AI practice labs. Hopefully, a lot of you have already done that. So thanks to them. And we want you to fill a short survey. So this short survey will help us in understanding how you got benefited. Not too many questions, just three questions there. How would you rate BESA cohort, and how did the cohort help you in learning journey, and what can we do to improve? Only three questions so that we could learn from your feedback and then improve this program. And whatever we did well, we'll keep on doing it. Whatever could be improved based on your feedback, we'll improve it. So that's what we wanted to cover. So let's put the chat link into the chat, Prasad. I guess that would be
Yes,
that would be
I'll do
better.
that. I'll do that in a moment. You continue, and I'm doing that right now.
So yeah, means feedback is important. Otherwise, we do not know. It's like even if we don't have feedback, it's like driving without having any path, right? So if you give us feedback, good, bad, ugly, whatever it is, but be genuine. Don't relate only for one session. We are talking about the whole program feedback from you, what we can do to improve, what works best for you, and how we can help you out further. That is the main agenda of collecting feedback. Don't ignore it. Please just a short survey, three questions only, and you could devote at least 2 3 minutes on this to give us proper feedback on that. All right. What else? Now, there are a lot of questions like what you need to continue your learning. Obviously, we are stopping here for this particular batch. That doesn't mean your learning has to stop. So be active in community. We have a lot of people who are helping out. So active in community. We have some links here like Skill Builder, AWS Workshop Studio, AWS events are there, which is a live event as well as sorry in-person event as well as a digital event which you can join, and then reinvent video session. So these are really great ways for you to get started and learn as much about the technology as you can. So Workshop Studio obviously will give you a lot of hands-on experience. Event will give you option for networking, and reinvent videos will help you in building your knowledge. Now, one more thing we wanted to highlight here that career is Prasad. You wanted to add something here?
No, go ahead. Continue, Ashish.
Yeah. And don't think that this 6 week made you an expert in AI. Nobody can claim that he or she is an expert in AI because it's an ever changing field. You have to keep on learning, keep on enhancing your skill. And when you're talking about career, I always say that career is a marathon, not a sprint. If you're planning for career, we have Cloud Career Journey Kit, which gives you resources for 6 month to 1 year time frame so that you could learn and move from there. So, uh, 6 months of WizLab access, Pluralsight premium access, all these are available to help you in getting started and plan long-term goals. Like could be certification, could be learning a new skill, could be achieving a particular workshop, could be building something on your own. Once you set a goal, it will help you to excel further. So that is what we wanted to highlight. Right? Anything else to add, Prasad here?
So on the previous slide on the reinvent videos, one other thing that I do whenever I want to go in deep into a topic, I just go to YouTube, type reinvent and the topic name. That's it. Like
Exactly.
Bedrock Agent Core reinvent, and you will find the recent reinvents, sessions that were there. And then all the reinvent sessions, if you look at, so they would be level 200, 300, 400. So you would be able to get the idea that if you're starting, go for level 200 sessions. If you're in advanced, go for 300 sessions. If you want to dive deeper, your expert level, go for 400 sessions. So, you will be able to get breadth of the entire thing. So that's what generally I do when I want to dive deep into a specific AWS topic. I type on the YouTube reinvent and the topic name, and we get the full data about that.
Makes sense.
Workshop
Makes sense.
Studio, as always, is really good in getting hands-on workshops. It's just that you'll have to use your own AWS accounts. Whenever we will be doing the batch, we will try and provide the accounts as we did this time. But yeah, otherwise, do not, a few dollars spent on, learning for a few hours is worth it. You will be able to easily, get the benefit out of it.
Exactly. Yeah, the best investment you can make is on learning something new. So don't hesitate from there.
Yeah.
All right. So obviously we have quizzes available. So 6 week quiz will be made available in few hours. Parna is working on that. So once we have completed all these 6 weeks quiz, you would have option to claim your certificate. Saying it again, there would be a button on your dashboard where you would see that called claim your certificate. So once you click on that, you will get the certificate. So all 6 quizzes, if you pass and you click on claim quiz claim certificate button, you will get your certificate of attendance. Quizzes will be available till 30th of April, so it gives you 4 weeks to complete it, more than 4 weeks in a way. So please complete it. That should give you enough time to go ahead and use it. WizLab access, I think it would be starting, it will be remaining for few more days, I guess, right, Prasad? So maybe for a few more days, they should be able to access WizLab,
Yes, they would be able to access Vizsla for a few
at
more
least a
days.
week.
If anyone
So
faces any
so
issues,
WizLab
they
access will be there for 1 week or so. So that
yeah,
should be good for you, right?
yeah. If anyone is
And
facing
that's why
any
we
issues,
provided the starter kit. So in case you need more resources, you could go and look into it. So that's what we wanted to cover. So hopefully everyone has enjoyed and learned something new. Also, one more thing about this certificate, like in the profile page, you should be able to update your name so that you get your right name reflected. Sometimes what happens that people have a different name and then it reflects in certificate. So make sure that you update the name in profile, which reflects into your agentic AI on AWS certificate itself, right? And now I would like ask all the volunteers who are there, who helped us out, to be on stage, and let's say goodbye to all the people we have, and hopefully we will be meeting again. What is next for us? We will be creating more session, but obviously with every batch we take some pause and then we regroup. We understand what are the trending topic, what are the requirement, where we can contribute, what we can contribute, and then we come up with the next cohort session. When will next cohort session will start? We haven't fixed a date, but probably in few months we would have more clarity, and then we should be able to tell you about how all these will work out. But everyone, so much thank you for all your time on weekend, on the travel time. So that really helped us a lot. And volunteers, really, really, we could not make this program without all of your support. Just a few words if you want to share what your experience was and what you felt about this community.
I'll go first, and thank you everyone for joining. And thanks to all the AWS volunteers as well as the community volunteers to make this happen. Like training more than 1,000 people for 6 weekends, it's not an easy job. And to each and every participant who have been shown, they are coming up consistently again and again. So thank you so much for that. And we understand that for the next few months, there would be no batch, and we are going to regroup and come up with ideas about the next batch. Feel free to share your feedback. In the feedback, we do have sections where you can write as a free text so that you can let us know if there is any specific topic you want us to cover. But more importantly, what we are thinking about, and we still need to figure out that how to keep the community engaged in these couple of months for the next few months when we will not be active as a BESA batch. So all the volunteers, like community volunteers and everyone, if you have any ideas, we are more than open on how to keep this community engaged during that time so that no one stops learning and the growth keeps happening for everyone. Thank you so much.
Who want to go next?
Probably I'll go next.
Go ahead.
Thank you, everyone. And it's been a learning experience for me as well. So I think the best way of learning is teaching, right?
I agree.
During our session, my sessions, as well as from my colleagues' sessions, they were brilliant. So I learned a lot from each of them, and each of them have some special quality that they could bring on. So it was great. And of course, those volunteers, we couldn't have managed so many workshops without them, because we ultimately, we none of us are AI, right? We are all human. So thank you for consistently coming back and tagging us and shouting out to the BESA team. It really encourages us to keep coming back, and we are looking forward to bring another batch to you all. So look forward to your suggestions too, and keep getting those badges. And I would love to see those certificates as well. Thank you so much.
I can go next. I just want to say thanks for everyone joining and spending time with us. I hope I was able to share valuable insight on this important topic. We all are learning, and we still have a lot to learn. But I hope that you gain some knowledge and knowledge that you didn't have before joining this program. So just wanted to say thanks, everyone, this team and everyone who was learning to join into this program.
Awesome. Thank you, Nisha. I can go next. First, I would say thank you so much, Ashish, Prasad, and Parna, for having me in this cohort. As everyone, this is a great learning experience to me. As Ashish was mentioning, we are not still experts in anything and we are still learning. So, this cohort is also like a great learning experience for me as we go through AI, DLC, and other concepts. So, yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity and huge shout out to all the volunteers for being very supportive and the audience to encourage us whenever we bring up a new topic or share ideas.
I'll go next. Thanks, Kavya. So this is the first time I got the opportunity to be in the BESA, and this is a really great experience for me. Like getting the perspective, the information we are providing on the technical side and the behavioral perspective of from the solutions architect point of view, it is really helpful to understand the day-to-day job and understanding the part of the role what SA is going to do. So there are a lot of information. I already started going to exploring the previous videos, the previous cohorts, and also those are also really helpful. And thank you so much, team, for giving me this opportunity to participate in this cohort.
Nice.
Amazing.
And we can already see a lot of ideas coming in already, right? So that is good, and will keep it. So thank you so much, everyone, and hopefully we will be meeting again. And keep your ideas coming. Shout out to us on LinkedIn, any social media you use, so that we can know that how Best Association helped, how we can improve, and we will be soon back with new batch with new excited features, exciting tracks, and will help you in learning as much as we can, because with you we also learn. So that's is always a good messaging to have here. Thank you so much, everyone. Are we good so far? Last words, anyone?
Yeah, I see a question about the discount codes for starter kit. Sorry, it's already really discounted price. So we do
Yeah,
not
no
have any
discount.
further starter kit. We wanted to price it so low so that we don't need to provide any, discount codes and stuff. But still, in case if you feel like you cannot afford it at all, reach out to us and we'll be able to
Yeah.
provide something if we are able to.
Yeah, and a lot of volunteers could not join on the last day because of personal commitment and all. But yeah, we have contributed. A lot of people have not even like Chris. Chris has done all the videos, but he never showed up because of other commitment. But yeah, very consistently people supported us. Otherwise, we could not have scaled up to this much. So thank you so much. We appreciate, and we'll keep learning with you as we move forward. Take care. Bye.
Thank you all.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.